Yo, so I have to start off. I never know how to start. I never know how to start these things, but this is kind of just like an appreciation post. It's to recognize through me how far I've come, and perhaps you may too be able to recognize how far you've come, uh, and be able to appreciate life a little bit more through yourself. Okay, so basically, I'm just really grateful for everything that I've ever been through in my life. Um, I've been through a lot in my life. Um, most things people probably won't. Most people wouldn't be able to understand, comprehend, or maybe even endure. uh, but nonetheless, I'm very grateful. Um, additionally, you know, some of the things that I've learned while journeying through my life, I've come across many different cultures and ways of being. Uh, for example, the Tao Te Ching and Buddhism, Hinduism. In Buddhism, they say that desire is the root of all suffering. And I lived my life with that quote. And through learning the wisdom of that quote, I actually came out of it, um, and was left with um, the truth of it, the truth behind it. Um, See, desire is the root of all suffering. When when you learn that when your desires become the very thing that you are attached to, when you attach to your desires, they do become suffering. Now, in that same sentence, I can say that I too am grateful for my desires. Because if it weren't for my desires, I wouldn't have tried or attempted many of the things that I have in my life. I didn't do anything grand. I I just decided to take some risk. And the risk in question is nothing more than something very, that could seem very, normal, very minute, depending on who you're talking to. But without the desire to want to go out and do those things, then I wouldn't have been there, right? So the truth behind that quote that I left with, because it's not that desire is the truth, is the root of all suffering. It is a stage, it's the first stage that one kind of begins to dissolve the um, the foundation behind their desires. You know, why do you desire the thing that you do? You know, and those are things like those answers. The answers to those questions come later on after like after you journey, after you go on that journey. Um, but yeah, I'm grateful for all the things that I desired because they are the things that got me here to where I'm at today. Um, and so if we kind of just take a step back to think about not only what Buddha said, which is the root of all suffering is desire. But in that same breath, you have to realize that your desires are the things that are drawing you closer toward whatever it is. It's drawing you towards something, basically. Like the reason why these two things exist, the root of all suffering and the fact that your desires bring you somewhere, they're two seemingly contradicting sides. They're opposites of one coin. If I had a coin, I would show you. Um, but it's one side of the coin, and then you flip it over, it's the other side of the coin. So, two things that exist at once because they have to. I had to have my desires in order to get to the root of my suffering, right? And what came out of that was balance. And that's what it brings you toward. That's what you leave with. That's what I left with. I left with the understanding, the truth of it is balance. It's very simple, and yet the journey itself seems like it's a long one, seems like it's very excruciating. You go through a lot of pain, hardship, and all that good stuff. They say no pain, no gain, right? So yeah, I mean that's pretty much what I have to say. Um, Anything that you really go through in life is gonna draw you toward balance, and balance is everything to do within. Um, you just need to take the time to understand what balance looks like for you. Um, and that just kind of takes it does mean going against doing the opposite of what you've already done. So say for example, um, and I'll make this quick. Say for example, you live a fast lifestyle. Let's say, you have to get up super early, you have a lot of obligations. Um, you probably consider yourself to be a busy ass person, and you feel like you have no time to do anything. Okay. Well, first, I would do everything in my power to do the opposite. Free up some space, take some time off of work, tell the kids, you're gonna have to stay in daycare a little bit longer. Tell your spouse, hey, I'm gonna stay in bed. I need you to take care of this. Like, I would take the initiative to go ahead and do the exact opposite of what I think of what I'm already doing. Because that's already going to bring you toward your balance. Your balance cannot be found if you continue just doing this one thing. You have to go ahead and do the opposite. And vice versa. If you live a pretty slow life, um, not even slow, I would say sedentary. Because to me, living a slow life is probably one of the best lives to live. Going fast never really, uh, it doesn't really bring anything to, you live too fast, you're not gonna be able to really see, uh, you know what I mean? I think in order to become accurate at being fast at something, you have to first learn how to do it slowly. You got to learn how to walk before you run. So, but if you live a sedentary life, you're very just kind of you're still you don't really do much. Maybe you're kind of like a couch potato. I would balance that out by doing everything in my power, one day, 1 week, 2 days out of a week, to uh, get up, to move, to live a little bit faster, to quick decision making instead of ponder pondering on decisions. If you ponder on decisions, I would do everything in my power to Trust my first thought, I'm gonna act on it. My first decision, my first thought, I'm going to make that as a decision, and I'm not going back. So it's those little things that help you understand what balance looks like for you, and it's really helpful when you feel as though that your life needs a change, but you don't feel like you have the resources to do it, maybe financially, and yet maybe sometimes you don't even want like a huge change. But these are the ways in which little change it seems little, but it's actually very foundational, very concrete, very big what you're doing. When you do those things and you do them consciously with awareness, you're doing something very, very big for yourself, very, very powerful for yourself, and it's going to bring you um, a lot of um, stability. Okay, so that is all. That is it. And thank you for listening if you did. Um, yeah, hair is a little crazy. You know what I'm saying? But it's okay. You can't really see it anyway. Uh, but yeah, with that being said, I'll catch you in the next one. And yeah, peace.